all season of 2020 have just been like, it's this result, and have been wrong every single time. I'd hate to see my stats. I would love to see this stats in the bottom left in the Africa Freaks. It is the man himself, the Shieldivire, right there.
And I think a fitting name, you know, a play style that can be defined really as someone who always does play the best statistics and tries to play very defensive and safe.
Yeah, plus EV plays.
Indeed. And likewise up here in the top right, I mean, and they're really very similar styles. It is Big Esports ShoWTimE.
Biggie Smalls. Dimawa. Yeah, the Big Esports, the big pig. We need to have that, man. I wonder if Berlin International Gaming is looking for an Australian streamer.
Guten Tag, mein deutsche Fans.
Mein Liebchen.
I would be a great representative. So
a huge ambassador for Big.
Only if they take me as a pro player as well, because I want to be a real true competitor with my amazing skill, Maynard.
Look, you need to have that Twitter header with you in a gaming professional t-shirt with a jersey, with your name, with all the sponsors on it, that you wear once for a promotional photo and then stream in your jocks for the next 6 months.
Well, already we're seeing the Oxide meta. So for anyone who's not up to date on Protoss vs. Protoss, recently Gateway expands and even Nexus First has become really big in Protoss vs. Protoss, especially on maps like this where you've got a ramp on your natural expansion and a nice tight choke point, so you can kind of wall yourself off at the front. Now, because people know that and they go, man, it's hard to play against people when they expand, both sides come across and pile and block each other's expansions. But keep your eyes peeled. A lot of the time, we've seen people also then investing in a cyber core block as well, just to delay that Nexus for a really long time. And you can see stats here chasing the probe back. He's got 2 probes trying to clear. A Zealot does come out. Now, is either player going to invest in the cyber core block? Notice they want to delay it as long as possible till the pylon is about to die, but sometimes the player can block it if they kind of move a probe or 2 in front of it very quickly.
Yeah, that's cyber core from ShoWTimE. So ShoWTimE does get the block with the cyber core stats, same deal there, and it's just so funny to see. You see it a lot of the time when you see that one gate expand build attempts in PvP. It's almost always blocked this way. They don't always get the cyber core down, which is, I guess, the reason why this play is done. I think with the cyber core, it makes it like almost not worth it, but considering it's being done to the exact same situation for your opponent, it really just evens out across the board. You both force out a Zealot as well, and that probe will get gunned down by the Stalker. It happens a lot in Pills of Gold as well. This kind of opening as well when you go one gate.
And both players cancel the cybernetic score at the very last moment. And the reason I get the cybernetic score is 2 reasons. Number 1, it has 100 extra total hit points and shields than a gateway, and it builds longer. So since you want to get most of that money back with a cancel, you want something that takes a lot longer to build, and just cancel it at the last moment. And we see expansions on both sides, Twilight Council, Sentries. It is a true mirror matchup, Maynard.
It is indeed. Well, it's the exact same follow-up here for both players. They seem to have I guess there is a certain way to correctly transition out of that pylon cybercore block. So they're doing the exact same thing.
It's 1 gate tech, remember, as well, right? So 1 gate expands. So the second gateway is only now going down for both players. I once did see Parting win with that little attack that Stats just did there. And I was like, did he just win the game with 3 units? It's the silliest thing I'd ever seen. But normally, if you both do this opening, it's basically like, okay, good sir, would you like to make Blink? Yes, I would. You too? Okay, we're gonna make a bunch of sentries so we can spam hallucinations, see everything each other's doing. And we're just going to go Blink. We're both going to take quick third bases, and we're going to play it out from there. So we've got a bit of a macro game on our hands. Now, we've recently seen a lot of interesting ways to try and crack through that meta. Attacking the third base is pretty rare, unless you get there just when they're starting it, before there's any shield batteries with a surprise Blink attack. The more common attacks that win games is like Warp Prism comes in and drops some sentries and you blink on top of your opponent's ramp and you force field them out of their main base. That's a common one. There's a few other attacks where like you add charge and a few Archons by surprise, and hopefully your opponent's a little behind on that, and you swing in with a big Blink Zealot Archon attack. So there's a few different ways that these players can try to crack through each other and kind of circuit break the I'm just going to take 70 probes and mass Blink Stalkers into disruptors.
So we're seeing small differences here from both players, with the third being slightly faster for stats. And the Forge also being fast for stats, but ShoWTimE just getting another couple of units out from his round of gateways. It's really just small, minute details, but both players are so similar and so mirrored in their responses from the beginning of the early game that it's hard to really have too much of a difference, to really deviate from the plan too much at this phase of the game and so early. We do see a Robo go down here for stats. We're kind of expecting the same from ShoWTimE, though, as you really got to round out your arm. You can't just go pure gateway, really, in PvP. Because the Immortals can upset the balance. I mean, at the beginning of the game, I think you can overwhelm with like a lot of Stalkers or something like that. Obviously, charge lots are important later on, but the guy that has the Immortals is usually, or the Protoss that has the Immortals is usually the one that you would prefer to be, because they have so much damage output and hardened shield, and they're so tanky.
Well, especially when you have, Guardian Shield plus Hardened Shield, and if you get near a shield battery, well, the Immortal is just a big problem. But ShoWTimE wants to play more of a gateway style, and I actually like this because, what you can do is you can do a big blink attack where you just overwhelm the Immortal. You just blink on it, click the Immortal down. Or you can do what ShoWTimE's doing, lots of gateways, charge. And what I really love is a quick fourth Nexus. So one of my favorite things to do in this scenario, and I've seen more and more players doing it, like Haas used to be a big fan of it before this meta even really evolved, was say, look, I'm not even going to take that many gases. Charge Zealot Archon, I might not be able to kill you with it because they're melee, close range units. Like, you can always get behind batteries, you can wall off a bit, but it scares you into a very defensive stance. And then I'm just going to expand faster than you and get a bigger economy. So I'd actually love to see ShoWTimE on this low gas count take the quicker fourth base and kind of use the heavier Zealot Archon kind of better units in the raw open ground to really just secure more of the map than stats.
Certainly has mobility on his side. Stats actually getting a second Robo here and the Disruptor Den ready to make those balls of death. I've seen some Protosses like pepper in a couple of Colossi here and there, but it really feels like the Disruptor is such a better unit in PvP. So you just have such a ground army that can just be one shot so quickly by a Disruptor Nova. It's kind of make or break though, and it's a little bit awkward when you got charge lots as well, but I like the Disruptor a lot in PvP. It's for me the Chad way to play PvP. There's the guys that go to Immortal, Charge Lot Archon. That's the beta way. I think the Omega Chad way is to play, heavy Blink Stalker with Disruptors.
It is very, very fun. And, that's going to give a lot of efficiency potential for stats who simply macroed up harder than ShoWTimE is. ShoWTime's going basically mass Zealot Archon now at this point, but has a lower worker count. Now, these units, if he can ever surround the Stalkers, the Disruptors, ShoWTime's army is so much better, but you've got this ranged flexibility to the way that Stats is playing. And you notice he's adding layers of cannons and batteries. The thing is, he's not really going to be able to get a fourth base up for a while. He's going to have to play it very slow, but I wonder how far does ShoWTimE push the aggression? Does he really try to break into the three bases? Or does he just kind of posture, deny a fourth base, and then take like his own fifth, slowly tech up himself? ShoWTime's worker count is so low, it really looks like he wants to commit to an all-out assault.
I mean, it might work for the first round here, but a couple of Disruptors already are out for stats. Potentially turn this battle really quickly in his favor, but ShoWTimE is cutting off part of the infrastructure of stats here on the right side. A lot more charge lots stuck at the back of the army for ShoWTimE, yet to engage. Now they're streaming in. In comes stats army from the natural, realizing, oh yeah, the charge lots trying to get on top of the Disruptors. The Disruptor Nova's blinking. Oh my god, that connection there kills a lot of the Stalkers, but the charge lot's still closing that distance, but the overwhelming army of stats is getting all over ShoWTimE's attack here.
Yeah, the cannon battery is so good. I mean, the Immortals finally fall, and that's a turning point. ShoWTimE Zealots did eventually run those shield batteries dry. You see the power of the Zealot, just their raw damage is so bloody high. And it's a brilliant army in a pitched battle, in a scrappy battle. Remember, ShoWTimE has a fourth up behind this. Yes, he's down on probes. He's going to add his own Disruptors, but he's keeping up this aggression. He's going back into heavy Blink right now. If those Zealots get in the natural, that would be awesome. He can go for the probe line.
And that pylon's powering quite a bit as well at the front line here. Gets on top of the Disruptors, target fires them down. Good target fire from ShoWTimE. The last from the back saves its life at the last second there. Very, very nice battle here from both players. The Robo did stay powered from that pylon back near the mineral line there for stats. He is still able to keep up the Disruptor production 2x2. Speaking of 2x2, it is +2 attack for both players to finish up here. Actually, I think there we go. That third base seems like such a war zone for stats, though he just is finding it hard to comfortably hold on.
He's been very efficient in his defense so far, though. Does have a good Pack of Stalker Disruptor out. Stats, though, remember, pinned on 3 bases. So even with some of these trades being a little scrappy for ShoWTimE, not being the most efficient, he's up to his own double robo disruptor. He is a little low on gas, though, so he's got to actually add those gases and a 5th base in the near future. But look at this. Those Zealots still are such a frightening force. And this is why I really do think the Zealot Archon style with more expansions is just one of the best ways to play this matchup right now. But oh, that Prism got spotted. It's going to get blinked on Maynard.
Get Blunk. Good catch there from Stats. And that's going to take a one less thorn out of his side here from ShoWTimE's potential backstab of that Prism. Prism in the main can cause many tears in this matchup, or any matchup really. Prisms in the main. We do have the Zealots coming in on the right side. Looks like ShoWTimE potentially setting up a run by at the third while trying to engage the main army of Stats with these Stalkers in the middle. But it is just Stalkers here from ShoWTimE with 1 disruptor in the back line. Looks like a lot more firepower here for the Korean Protoss.
Did get the Observer Snipe, though, which is really useful. ShoWTimE, of course, maintains the vision advantage. He's got Zealot flank coming in from behind. A second Disruptor does rally out. He can't let Stats get too good a position here. Stats blinking forward for that position. Good pullback by ShoWTimE. Doesn't burn his blink just yet. And already Zealots coming in from behind. The Disruptors are exposed. One of them goes down before it can fire. The other one only gets a single Stalker. ShoWTimE, with a glorious hold, is going to take out all the Disruptors.
Oh, no. He actually had an incredible fight there at that third base. Really well done by ShoWTimE. And a big, decisive, aggressive blink forward. Another Disruptor pick off there. Shaving into the splash damage count, the potential huge damage output of Stats' army. And then pulling back to the third, back to his own Disruptors.
31 Blink Stalkers for Stats, though. So these Zealots are going to burn into this kind of badly. I actually think ShoWTimE needs to start doing Zealot run-bys again. Once the Stalker count gets this high, attacking front and on into that with Zealots can get a little dicey. It's a little scary. So you know what? Stats has weathered the storm for now. He's got 70 probes up. He's got his 4th base up. So I really am impressed by the way Stats has just defended these non-stop pieces of Zealot aggression. A Disruptor drop going around for ShoWTimE. Wow, that's fascinating. We don't see that very often in the late game. It's normally all about Zealot DT run-bys. And as we say, that Stats does drop the Dark Shrine.
Does indeed. I wouldn't say he's behind, though, so it's not a win behind Dark Shrine. It's just a late-game Dark Shrine. The Invisible Man, of course, very, very good from mid to late game to drop that tech. Really is the focus on the Stalkers, the Disruptors, the Charge Loss right now. Speaking of which, Charge Loss getting pushed back and thinned out there for ShoWTimE as he tries to get Stats off of his side of the map.
Is that Disruptor drop still alive, I wonder? Not sure if it's just waiting off to the left somewhere or if it did end up going down. Looks like it's just gone back to Warp and Zealots on the front. Zealot Stalker still posturing around. ShoWTimE taking a 5th on the right-hand side of the map, so he wants to continue having that higher base count. Zealots on the left going to find a little bit of an angle, but double battery, double cannon, going to be a good defense.
It's like a similar Disruptor count for both players. Demauer firing off the first Nova, which whiffs. That one clips a Stalker there. So it seems like not much that ShoWTimE get done really convincingly there at the third base, so he pulls back to the middle. The high ground, though, very, very awkward for Stats. He doesn't have high ground vision at the moment of this area, so the Disruptors could potentially cut off the natural in the third again, or even get a high ground YOLO Nova, which finds some damage. So Stats and ShoWTimE meeting Zealots in the middle. Bit of a Zealot sword fight there.
Plasma Shield's on the way now for ShoWTimE, so he's continuing to keep that upgrade advantage. But the Disruptor count's really good for Stats. He's lost track of ShoWTimE's army, though, temporarily. ShoWTimE still holding this high ground outside the base, showing some foraging Disruptor shots. And what we really need to keep an eye on in the next few minutes is a vision battle. That Observer there is got the vision for Stats, and that's allowing him to kind of bully ShoWTimE back. ShoWTimE knows, I don't have any Revelation. I don't have any Observers right now. I've got to be real careful. And ooh, those Stalkers. He's got to be careful. The Disruptor shots Stats could come in really big.
Big blink forward there from Stats. Does get a few Stalkers for free. Well done from him. We got Shadow Stride halfway done for Stats, so the DT is about to be an extra complication here, an extra variable in the game for ShoWTimE to deal with as he goes towards his own DT tech. A little bit behind in that regard. Oh my god, weird fight! Oh my god, the Disruptors of Stats! They both walked into each other. It's like they bumped shoulders in the dark and then pulled their swords out and started sword fighting in the dark. It was such an insane fight there at the right side of the map.
Yeah, they both cut each other open a little bit, but Stats comes out the worst. I mean, he's the one who's got a nasty gut wound after that. His Disruptor count gets reset. And ShoWTimE, he's got a 10 worker lead now. He's still got that upgrade lead, remember? And he's starting to push forward a little bit. His Zealots on the left, I think he probably has an Observer with them now. So if he gets an Observer with this Mass Zealot on the left and he can win that fight, then he can take down this army, yeah. And that, Stats might try to focus the Observer. Keep your eyes on that. If Stats does a super pro snipe on the Observer, pulls back everything but the DTs, he's going to be able to win that side of the fight.
Yeah, certainly. And maxed out ShoWTimE coming in from the left side with the charge lots, trying to get a big wrap around this army. Disruptors actually killed quite a few of the charge lots there. Another good Nova, really thinning out the herd.
Oh, there's still one ready in the back. You got to be careful of that ShoWTimE. But all the disruptor shots are gone. Good defense by Stats. Cleans up the big surprise zealot attack. And look at that army. Oh my gosh. ShoWTimE's got to be careful or his third base in the top left will get overwhelmed if those units come in. They could also do the same maneuver that ShoWTimE just tried, where they come in and flank the army and take out ShoWTimE's disruptors. So both sides got to be careful of that.
Yeah, this game is definitely not decided just yet. A real tug of war between both players, very closely matched. And in come the prisms now for Stats, going to try and actually hit ShoWTimE's side of the map. Stats actually hasn't been on ShoWTimE's side of the map until just now. It's been a long while between drinks here. So we have to get to cancel this Nexus though, it looks like.
Yeah, does get a kill actually on that and the pylon because the going down in the bottom. And nice win with the disruptor trade there for Stats. Denying that base in the top left as well. Zealot, Stalker, DT, Observer, squad of absolute destruction on the left of this map. And I mean, ShoWTimE's moving over there with his own Zealot DT. Okay, he's going to use Archons to try to win that fight, but it's still a big army on both sides. They've got to be careful.
DT's in here for ShoWTimE. The Archons make a huge deal in the engagements with the charge loss, but it looks like Stats has got so many numbers that he still pushes ShoWTimE back to the defense of that Nexus. Main army of ShoWTimE there on the right side of Stalker and Disruptor. Still pushing through the middle. Looks like he wants to catch Stats' army. He's going to try and cut him off at the pass, potentially.
I love the second forge here for Stats. He's getting armor upgrades and plasma shields, so he'll start to catch up slowly. And he's sniping observers on the left. So the Stalkers are really good at picking off Zealots and Archons a few at a time, unless you're getting completely overwhelmed. And ShoWTimE is taking really bad trades on the left of the map. At the same time, Stats here is doing a pretty good job of this. I mean, the Archons finally start to close in on this, but the Zealot warp there with the Prism, I think maybe... Oh, let's see if Stats can come in from the high ground and punish this. He's coming in from the high ground, but good zoning disruptors.
Yeah, really nice zoning disruptors there from ShoWTimE, and he actually cleans up that top left part of the map. Does open up Stats the ability to just attack right into this Nexus, as ShoWTimE has to rely on warp-ins until his army can actually get up on the high ground and fight back. But the disruptors sending a Nova into the pack as he tries to go up that ramp, making it awkward for ShoWTimE to get up here to actually deal with this.
Yeah, ShoWTimE's up a little bit of supply, but both sides still very close right now. Stalkers do evade that one. The disruptors come dangerously far forward there for ShoWTimE. I feel like ShoWTimE has often been losing these disruptor shot versus disruptor shot trades. It feels like Stats has just almost always got the more direct shot. He just goes straight forward and gets in contact with ShoWTimE's before ShoWTimE's shot can fire off. And ShoWTimE's going to try and rotate to the right-hand side now. But Stats, the way he's been controlling this map now at this stage of the game, it's beautiful. And blinks forward, taking out the cannons and the batteries and really forcing the Stalkers of ShoWTimE to take a bit of a crazy engagement. The Disruptors are going to try to come in, as will the Zealot DT, but the Disruptor shot for Stats lands big, gets 2 of those Disruptors of ShoWTimE.
Oh, and he goes for the pack, actually gets another Disruptor there, potentially another 2. I'm not too sure, as they were stacked up a little bit. Stats is starting to find some really good fights here with the Disruptors in the last few minutes of this game. It's been really, really good for him. He does take the lead again here in this game, specifically in Army Supply. He has got a huge Army Supply lead here on ShoWTimE. And the base count is similar for both players as Stats tries to secure a 5th Nexus bottom right. The 9 o'clock base has been taken and saturated for a minute here. Nova into the pack, actually going to connect with a few Stalkers. Oh my god, did I say a few? I meant a billion Stalkers dying right there. It was at least 9 went down to that Nova. That was a massive connection from ShoWTimE, but still the supplies do not lie, Pig. Stats maintaining a huge supply lead.
ShoWTimE going for such a, Stats going for such an aggressive blink forward there, got punished, and he's still got that unit count, like you said right now. He's up a few Stalkers, he's up a lot of Disruptors.
Oh my god!
A few Disruptor shots go forward. He takes out some of Stats' Disruptors, but the numbers are there for Stats. And look at this. He can snipe a few Observers in the tail end of that fight. These Stalkers getting cornered. There's just no answer right now for ShoWTimE. He's trying to warp in DTs, but they're not going to be able to help here. He needs Mass Zealot or something, but he's just outnumbered, and Stats is going to start to spiral this out of control. He's hunting the Stalkers. His own Zealots coming in. ShoWTimE's trying to just get Mass Blink out. He's trying to hang on. He's got a couple Disruptors with his army again, which can help. The DTs did get a cancel in the bottom right. Disruptor shot shaves off a little bit of Stats' army. Somehow ShoWTimE kept his Nexus alive in the top left, but I think that's not going to last very long. It feels like Stats still has just so many more Disruptors than him.
that ShoWTimE's going to need a miracle engagement here just to stay alive, because at the moment, Stats has got a giant bank, and he is just using it to just bruise this German Protoss and bully him out of game one. He's gotten top left finally, as you mentioned, Pig. That was, you know, its time was measured there in the top left as it goes down finally to Stats' army. I mean, ShoWTime down a little bit in bases. His net base is also being cancelled in the bottom right. But Stats maintaining a healthy supply lead in that army. I mean, Disruptors, of course, Disruptor in a dream, as we all know. It isn't over until it's over. Huge Disruptors are a possibility here. Harder to do it against a player as good as Stats, though.
Stats has been getting really aggressive, and yeah, he's going to do it again. Oh my gosh. Look at these shots for Stats. He keeps winning these disruptor trades. There's no observers out there for ShoWTime because Stats is being so aggressive. He keeps winning these disruptor trades, and every time that happens, it just makes things so bloody hard for ShoWTime to get his ground underneath him. They're both going to trade bases once again. Bottom right goes down for Stats. Top left goes down for ShoWTime. It's a lot about efficiency at this point. ShoWTime, once again, not canceling a Nexus. He's got a lot of gas, but it's actually the minerals that's going to starve out for both of these players here, as Archons aren't very useful when there's a lot of Disruptor. Stalker out, they're easy targets for those Disruptors and Stalkers to pick away.
Big, fat, slow targets. Not the most splittable unit against Disruption Novas, of course. Don't have Blink like Stalkers do. That's why the Stalker and the Disruptor synergize so well. Stats going to try and cut ShoWTime off from this Nexus up here on the high ground. He's been trying to kill it all game long. Big Blink forward on that Disruptor. He does pick it off. What a move there from Stats.
Crazy maneuver, but pulls it off. He realizes with that Observer that's sieged up that there just aren't any Disruptors here for ShoWTime right now. And look at the way the Disruptors move forward there. Wow. But Big Zealot DT counterattack does come in for ShoWTime, but Battery Overcharge scares him away for now. Another base goes down. ShoWTime here realizes it's all about efficiency at this point. It's got to be a good next trade, and he realizes giving up bases is fine. As long as he keeps his army up, he preserves his hope in this game, but he's got to save those Disruptor shots. Oh,
this Nova could be nice, but no, the Disruptor actually gets picked off there in the end from the other Nova there of Stats. His Disruptor Novas have really been more convincing than ShoWTime's in this game, and it really has shown itself here in the resources lost between both players. Oh man, a lot more units lost, a lot more resources lost there for ShoWTime. And he is running on fumes right now. Really doesn't have a whole lot of a mineral bank at all. Meanwhile, Stats could actually remake a pretty good chunk of his army with this mineral bank. Like, he is just sitting so comfortably in this game right now.
The Disruptors, oh, they got to be careful. Oh, wow, blinking at the last second, but Stats does preserve his units for now. I think Revelation is such a useful ability, but having lost the Oracle, there's going to be a bit of a gap in the information here for ShoWTime. And man, look at the way Stats is doing this. Oh, the DT's coming from behind him. But oh, once again, the Disruptors kill all of ShoWTime's Disruptors. It's just been that story over and over again. The Stats Disruptor shots are always annihilating ShoWTime's Disruptors. A shake of their head from Tobias, realizing these trades are just not what he needs in this series.
Yeah. And while ShoWTime is alive, it's only just in the very technical sense. Stats is really getting to that phase of the game where it feels it's starting to head towards unlosable. There are Disruptors for ShoWTime, but the Stats army is still so big to fail. And it's got so much more of a bank as well. Even just printing a lot of charge lots here can make a big difference because the amount of Blink Stalkers here that ShoWTime has, and a lot of charge lots, actually not too bad against that.
Indeed. Disruptor shot not able to get off. The second one doesn't. The third does get off finally. The 3 Disruptors go down for it, and this is just not much left here for ShoWTime. Takes out a base in the bottom right, but he's going to lose a base as well. His Stalker's trying to come back. This is his last mining base on the right-hand side of the map. ShoWTime down to 38 probes, and Stats has even taken the top left. He doesn't have probes mining there yet, but Stats smothering ShoWTime, and if ShoWTime can't get a big Disruptor shot soon, this is all going to be over in a little while.
Oh, that's a good start here for ShoWTime. It feels like if ShoWTime like finds the nuts here, if he gets the Disruptor Nova right into that Disruptor pack, maybe, right? But I don't know, man. Stats has been so on point with Disruptor Micro and picking off the Disruptors here for ShoWTime, turning things bad to worse here for Demauer. Even a Rally Disruptor getting picked off there in the natural. 3 Disruptors dying in as many seconds, it feels like. Stats taking the natural now away from ShoWTime, and he's stuck on the outside, not able to return home.
Yeah, ShoWTime, I think a bit of frustration clear on his face at a few moments in this game, as he hasn't quite been able to pull off the micro in these big fights. He's going to go across the map with a bit of a desperate attack, try to snipe down the cannons and get on in there and make something happen in a little bit of a base trade. This is what you do when you can't fight their army head on. Try to instead take out their buildings, their economy, bypass it, create a little bit of chaos. Maybe in that scenario your opponent makes a mistake, but Stats already snipes the natural, gets in the main, depowers literally all the production, so he can't even build anything. And even though Stats is going to lose a lot of his economy, he's still got a great army. His disruptors are coming back as well.
Yeah, but Demower has been depowered, and unfortunately that means he isn't able to produce, whereas Stats is. He doesn't really have a gas bank anymore, but again, Zealots are still useful, and there's a warp in there for Stats. Just going to pad out those armies, those army units, get a few more charge lots here. They are still useful in this phase of the game against all these Blinkstalkers. And of course, the Disruptor is going to zone back ShoWTimE. He has to respect every single Nova here from Stats. He cannot make a single mistake, but again, it just feels so unlosable for Stats at this point.
Yeah, it feels like Stats has been a little bit better at initiating the fights here. A little bit better at just kind of starting them off with his disruptor shots in the right positions, and feels like ShoWTimE maybe a little bit more used to being the defender. I feel like you've got to be a little bit more of the one to start these fights, especially when you're both obviously playing cross server on NA. You're both playing on the middle server to give you the fairest competitive environment. But it feels like Stats has been handling that a lot better than ShoWTimE. He's just been managing the micro well, and he's ready to close this game out.
Seems like it. Stats comes in with that incredible Protoss army here. ShoWTimE bleeding out units here on the retreat. He's actually going towards Stats' location in the map. So GG there, and Stats finally knocking out ShoWTimE out of game one after 26 minutes of PvP brutality. That was quite a bloodbath between both players. We kind of expected the match between ShoWTimE and Stats to be quite action-packed, just because of the nature of the matchup, just PvP being such an action-packed matchup at the moment. And that one definitely delivered. A really entertaining game there with Stats showing his mastery of the Disruptor Nova. He's a bowling king, but hate to go bowling with that guy. He would ruin my score.
Yeah. That was one of those ones where it's really... I kept thinking like, cool, ShoWTimE's taken a few bad trades. Now surely he'll get a few good trades. Normally you see a bit more back and forth, but it felt like there was a few moments where ShoWTimE was almost doing some great stuff, and he just wasn't quite able to get back in control. And I mean, amazing defense from the early game. Remember that started with a giant Zealot attack on the third of Stats, which he defended with force fields fantastically, and shield batteries, immortals. He was down a base for a long time, but taking much better fights, keeping his work account up, and it felt like ShoWTimE was never able to kind of find his way into the production line or really get into a super important base. Picked off the 5th base a few times, but there was never a lot of probes there. So I think Stats just looking really solid so far, and a very good start to the series.
It felt like the longer the game went, the further and further Stats got ahead. Like they were actually quite close for the first half of that game, and then as the game continued, Stats would find better engagement, better trade, and the trades really started to snowball in Stats' favor as the game went further. We are going to Lightshade here, which is Stats' map pick, but again, mirror matchup. The maps are basically stylistic. It's like, what do you feel comfortable on? And that is going to be Stats coming up here. So currently being 1-0 up, if it's a map that he feels comfortable on, if he's got a particular strategy for Lightshade. I know that there's Lightshade is a map where I feel like proxies are, a bit of a hot favorite on Lightshade, but the proxy spots are kind of really obvious as well. So it's weird in that regard. I think like Romanticide might be, we're talking about proxy maps. I know people aren't proxying a ton in PvP at the highest level, but I feel like Romanticide is like the hardest map to find proxies on. I had to pick one in the map pool. Maybe Jagannatha.
Indeed. I mean, I think it's always something that's in our mind. Will players be hiding structures? This guy's definitely known to mix it into a series. Down here in the bottom right-hand side, in the blue, it's Big Esports ShoWTimE.
And in the top left here, from the Afrika Freaks, currently on a match point here. Potentially get that decided match against Serral. It is Stats.
It's got some nice wide open areas. I really like watching actually Blink Disruptor wars on this map. But it is one where I've seen a lot of people blink on the high ground and force field the ramp, do kind of proxy a gateway and do a quick blink attack on their opponent's third by surprise. Lots of things that do come out, but definitely a map where we're not expecting such a fast expand as the default opening. You can see they've both walled on the high ground. ShoWTimE will be opting for the standard second gateway, as will Stats. So this is more of an older style, a more standard style of PvP. You're going to see double Adept or double Stalker, probably Sentries coming out, and both sides scouting each other. And what they're looking for early on is, okay, you've got 2 gateways, you've got a cyber core, and then they're saying, are you putting down a second pylon? in the next 10 seconds. Because if that's somewhere in your main base, I know you're not doing a super fast proxy. And you can see, there we go, pylon in the main for stats. Same thing went down on ShoWTimE's side of the map. So they both kind of are just going, yeah, all right, you're just playing the normal stuff. You're not hiding anything anywhere so just yet. And both of them doing a little bit of probe harass.
Yep. It's a very standard thing in high-level PvP. You cannot stop the probe scout at the beginning of the game, really. And it feels like in PvP, especially when you get to the hallucination phase, it's very hard to deny information from your opponent in this matchup. Similar to ZVZ, I suppose, but even in ZVZ, I feel like it's easier to hide your main than it is to hide your main in PvP. It's really about not so much denial of information as it is just executing better and maybe keeping your army unscattered if you're going for movements across the map, or a depth shading and that sort of thing. Strangely enough, didn't see much attempts at a depth harassment in game 1.
Well, double Stalker for stats, double Adept for ShoWTimE. I wonder if ShoWTimE might do like a 6 Adept expand build. That's been gaining a lot of popularity, sometimes even 8 Adepts, where it's like you just keep building Adepts, but you also take a Nexus really early. And then you just kind of say, look, if you ever aren't quite ready at home, I am just going to swarm in with Adepts. Interestingly, ShoWTimE let that pylon finish on top of the ramp. I think he just wanted to confirm if it was Adepts or Stalkers that popped out. And if you don't let the pylon finish, it's very hard because it doesn't have a lot of vision. Usually players do cancel it though, so there is the chance that's a mistake. Potentially. Because the Nexus going up here for stats a little bit quicker. Also means he can't wall off. His Shade should come in. Oh, did he recall though instead? Where are those 2 Adepts?
Looks like all 4 Adepts are back at home.
Yeah, so he recalled, just didn't want to lose that pylon on the low ground, and does pull back the weak one. But now that Stats has seen that, starts a Twilight Council, already has the quicker Nexus up behind this, and essentially this is just a good excuse to turtle incredibly hard as Stats. Just sit in your base, get the shield battery, get as many Stalkers as you can out to contest those Adepts, and always be ready to wall off your base against the potential Adept dive.
Oh yeah. Those Adepts in your main are basically game-ending. That's a lot of dead probes right there. They excel at killing probes. A lot more Adepts being made here from ShoWTimE as his Twilight Council just starts. To see a big lead in the Twilight Council tech for stats. So you can go immediately into Blink. So this big, heavy Adept army of ShoWTimE really is going to drop off later, but at the moment has potential for a ton of damage.
Yeah, he's just going to dive with it as usually. Sometimes people will threaten with it, and there's plenty of Stalkers available. That's 8 Adepts, and if he finds the probes, he can focus a lot of them down very quickly. And he's going to cancel it for now, but he's already denying mining time. So you can see just how much respect there is for how scary an 8 Adept Shade is. And he could always just finish this on the high ground and click down the pylon or battery in the ramp. That is an option, but that one's about to finish, so not an option there. Blink is on the way behind this. ShoWTimE not diving the Adepts just yet. Thing is, he's going to run out of time. There's so many Stalkers, so he's got to choose to either disengage or just commit to it at some point. He's going to go for the sentries.
Oh, wow. Yeah, going to go for the sentries here. A very high gas target, a high value target to pick off here for the Adepts, and they can kill them very quickly. The Adepts' lives are kind of forfeit now, though. A few of them might escape, but it's a lot of Stalkers.
So 4 Adepts go down for 2 sentries and a bit of mining time there. So not really that much damage by any means. ShoWTimE is up 6 probes behind it, but it's 10 Stalkers, and that Blink is going to be done much quicker. So this is Stats' turn to say, okay, you did some damage, you're a little ahead economically, but that came at a cost. That was not free, and now I am in charge of this map. The Adepts try to shade past, but look at that interception. This is so many units going down for free. Stats is all over this right now. He's clearly experienced against this opening, and he is smashing it.
It certainly is. There are some Korean Protosses like Zest and Prince and that sort of thing who have cast and Lemely just go really heavy on the Adepts and try and make something happen with them. But again, like they fall off almost immediately. Like at the beginning of the game, you hit that 5-minute mark, it's the Adepts' time is over, and it's all about how many Stalkers you have. Do you have any Immortals, shield batteries, that sort of thing. Right now, there is a shield battery here for ShoWTimE in the natural, a good number of sentries as well. So if Stats had all these Stalkers together, it could try and potentially make something happen here, especially considering Blink is done. Oh my god.
Oh, just going to dive on it. I actually think, this might work. There's not many Stalkers left there. And oh my gosh, look at that. He's just one-shotting the units. The power, when you get enough Stalkers to one-shot, you do see a bit of fancy micro pulling back for ShoWTimE, but his Blink being a little bit delayed, just not enough.